Zipping through Artist Alley on her scooter, here's your look at the new DC Collectibles DC Artist Alley. This is Chrissie Zullo's Batgirl. Inspired by the popular comic convention experience, DC Artist Alley is an artist-focused, limited edition designer vinyl figure line that merges indie design with the most iconic characters in the DC universe. Chrissie Zullo was discovered via the DC Comics talent search a decade ago. Since then, Chrissie has worked in all facets of the industry, doing work on interiors, covers, and variants for multiple titles and publishers. Created with a dreamlike fairy tale aesthetic, her work is modern in both origin. She uses both analog and digital tools in her work, and subject matter, video games, films by Miyazaki and Disney's Star Wars. While her work covers many subjects, an aura of joy and positivity emerges from each piece she creates. Now, to get started on this review, we're going to first figure out how tall Batgirl stands. Where is the tape measure going? It's way past her head. Well, actually, what I'm trying to do, hopefully successful by doing it, I'm trying to actually get to the top of her ears, little points on the tops of her cowl. That gives us a measurement of 6.4 inches in height. And to the people screaming for centimeters, you guys are very passionate about centimeters. 16 and almost a half, 16.4 to be exact. Comparisons, I'm sure, are the next thing you guys are going to be asking for. So let's go ahead and bring in some of the characters, some of the other statues that we've already had a look at. Here is, next to the will be looked at category of Batgirl, is the already looked at category of Hawkgirl, also from Chrissie Zullo. We can also bring in another character that we just happen to have had a look at, almost like I had this all planned. There is the Supergirl, and then the one that we started our reviews off, the 4 reviews that we've up to this point now almost completed. There is the Wonder Woman. I'm just going to move everybody over, make sure everybody is in the frame. I'm not a professional photographer, but I just want to make sure everybody is still in the frame. There is the Wonder Woman. Now, looking at all of these, actually, before we even really kind of get knee-deep into this review of this one right here, let me know down below what you guys think. Which is your favorite of the DC Artist Alley? Again, I'm still kind of leaning towards Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is my favorite, I think, from the batch. There's a lot of positive merits to be made for Batgirl, all of which you'll have to stay tuned to find out exactly what those are. I suppose from the standpoint of accessories, Batgirl happens to inherit the largest, and that is her little Batgirl scooter. The scooter is not something that has wheels. Well, it does have wheels. Let me just add further to that. It does have wheels, but it doesn't have moving wheels. Everything to this is staction. One thing, though, is when you do get this out of the packaging, the handles or the scooter itself has to be attached. It's not something that's already part of the statue. I don't really feel too confident too comfortable doing this too regularly. So I'm only going to do this 1 or 2 times, this one for the review, and then maybe another time after that, just for good measures, just to show you how the scooter is a separate piece. This is just something that comes inside the box, and you can see inside, because we don't actually have a display stand that goes underneath the scooter. Instead, where your markings are actually on the inside, well, the front section of the scooter, it's on the inside of that. Artist proof, that looks like a J. I think it's Artist Proof 04, out of a very limited release of 3,000 pieces. As for the scooter itself, it matches the same color scheme as what we will be looking at here with Batgirl, a nice purple and yellow color scheme treatment. Kind of, again, really very much marks kind of like the look of Batgirl from the old classic Adam West Batman and Robin series. Again, just really, really neat that, you know, Batgirl would now inherit this design. And I like the fact that she's almost got like a very retro designed scooter to go along with that. A little extra point of note is the fact that the top front plate, would you call that the front plate of the scooter, not only has a raised elevated logo, that's a nice touch, but you may also see too that the top of the scooter has cowl points, little bat points located on the top there. It's trimmed rather nicely here in black, and then mirrors itself then while having some additional black on the foot pedal, or the section in which your feet would be going on top of. The wheels are done in a very dark, stark black with a contrast of metallic silver, and you've got yourself like little yellow fins there on the back. It's just, again, a really fun looking scooter, and even though she technically doesn't ride it, she kind of hovers over top of it. It's just really neat, the fact that DC Collectibles would include that. So to kind of go back to where we started from, putting this into her hands aren't necessarily tricky. It's just the longevity of it. I wouldn't, again, stress, oh, that's not a word we should be using. I would not necessarily stress the idea of doing this too frequently. Again, running the risk that, you know, again, you don't want something to ultimately happen to it. I did pull away there for a second just to kind of show you I did do this the wrong way. I find it actually is a little bit easier based on the types of grips that these hands are. Let me go ahead and do this in camera. I find it's a little bit easier to get this handle in first. Just kind of wiggle it in between her fingers. There we go. And then because this one has a little bit of a broader grip, I find it's actually better to do this hand last. Now, if you pick this statue up for yourself, you may find yourself maybe doing something completely different. But I just find it's a little bit easier sliding that handle in, because this hand shapes differently than this one on the other side. I just find this one's a little easier to kind of get it onto the handles. But there you have Batgirl with her scooter. As I had already alluded to with my previous comment, you can see that she really isn't necessarily riding it. We can assume that this is a motorized vehicle getting her around the streets. But she actually isn't riding it. She's instead sort of hovering over top of it, kind of like stopping for a second. Maybe she's about to talk to Batman, or maybe, you know, maybe make a phone call out to one of the other various DC vixens that make up the DC Artist Alley by Chrissie Zullo. So, seeing as we've already spent so much time looking at the scooter, let's have a look at the person, the individual that's actually riding the scooter. And riding kind of being the operative word, it seems like more so, again, she's just kind of standing next to it, kind of stopping for a short break before resuming the rest of her daily, nightly duties, wherever she's going and fighting crime. Having a look at the statue, sporting one of my favorites of the Batgirl costumes, one of the reasonings why you probably see so frequently the collectibles, various different collectibles sporting this outfit, making several appearances on this channel, because just, again, a big fan of this particular costume. Having a look at their head sculpt, it's, again, really very much the same style of artwork as the rest of Chrissie Zullo's. And I think it is Zullo. If it is Zullo, I do apologize for that. But Chrissie Zullo, or Zullo's work is just fantastic. Again, it's just got such incredible personality to it. You know, Batgirl here being no exception. What's really interesting, though, about this particular statue is the coloring that they gave the eyes. Now, the eyes, according to the box artwork, kind of looks a little bit closer to being brown. Here, they've actually kind of given a really light, almost borderlining gray eyes. which kind of have a weird pulsating glow to them. I don't know if that is intentional, whether the artist proof version of this statue just happened to go a different direction than the one that's going to be releasing to stores, but there's something to be said about her particular eyes. They're really very much different than the eyes that we saw on Batgirls, which as Supergirls, I should say, where you remember there was like a half and half treatment. Here you got more of the transitioning that we saw with Wonder Woman, but here it's just very, very much a gray type of eye. There's a little bit of blue in there, almost like a little bit of like a teal color, and then she's also got a little bit of reflection in there as well. But I don't know if it could also be too that maybe there's a light. I'm creating scenarios here. Maybe there's a certain bit of lighting that's reflecting off of her eyes, making her eyes look a little lighter than what they actually really are. Speaking of light, though, her skin tone is generally quite light. You can also see that she's got quite a wide array of various freckles making their way across her face. I don't mind the freckles. I would have liked, I think, maybe less freckles around the nose section. Just, maybe around here, just kind of pull that back a little bit. I don't mind the freckles necessarily around the cheek area, but it carries on a little bit too much down past the nose. It doesn't take very much at all away from the sculpt. Again, I'm really happy with Chrissie Zullo's work here. Now, here we actually have rather something a little bit different with her mouth. This is also one instance in which we actually have a fully realized open mouth, whereas all the other figures have either had smiles, or in Supergirl's case, she had a fully visible row of teeth. Here we have a row of teeth, but we also are treated to a tongue, and a little bit of reflection there. The trademark calling card, it seems. There's a little bit of reflection there happening on the bottom lip. The outlining in black just kind of finishes off everything rather nicely. Small things I actually quite like. Not quite in the category of small, but I like that the eyebrows are as profound and broad as they are. All the figures in the designer series, all the Artist Alley statues we've looked at up to this point have all kind of sported the same design aesthetics. The broader eyebrows, very large, very beautiful eyes, and a very almost childlike expressions on all of their faces. They're very much like an old animated, they kind of look like old animated shorts, like the style of artwork, like the Betty Boops, for example. I get very much like that kind of vintage vibe in the animation style of these characters. Batgirl's got the raised elevated emblem there on her chest, and sporting similar colored utility belt with various pockets there aside. A nice little touch too that they've bent the pockets so that they have a natural drape across the legs, a little bit of striping of black down the sides of the legs. We've got yellow knee pads all the way down to her boots, which really do pop because they've got not only the laces in black, but they've also got the little hold sections around where the laces get fed through. Somebody once told me what those were, but those are also done in silver. Just a little added, the extra bonus of details that they add to these pieces. Full, thick black soles on the undersides of her boots to just kind of finish things off rather nicely. This one's got, like I said, a great looking flow to it. All of them had a really great looking flow, specifically like her cape, for example, how it just kind of drapes down. She's not necessarily in motion, as I've already alluded to the fact that with the way that the statue stands, kind of looks like she's just kind of stopped for a second. And with that, obviously, it makes sense that the cape isn't really just flowing back. It's not being blown back by the wind. Instead, it's sort of just draping down to the side of her. The one thing about this particular statue is because the way everything gets assembled in place, because you're all putting the hands onto the handle portions of the scooter, there's nothing really that the figure attaches to, the statue attaches to on the scooter other than just the handles. As a result of it, though, often at times when you are putting this one down, you may then find yourself just kind of adjusting the feet, making sure they're completely firmly planted, and that also the wheels of the scooter are firmly planted as well. This one's got great coloring, this one's got great sculpt, and for the added bonus too, this one also includes the Batgirl scooter, which is also a really nice touch. If all the other statues had used the circular display bases, I kind of would have felt a little bit like this one was left out of the mix. The contrast though, as I had mentioned before, the great thing about it is that Hawkgirl doesn't have the circular base, so she pairs well to Batgirl here, who also doesn't share that same circular base that was included with Supergirl and Wonder Woman. With DC Artist Alley, one of the neat things that also comes with this line too is variants. We've seen various variants in previous reviews, and the ones here from Chrissie Zullo are no exception. Along with the full color treatment that we saw in these 4 various reviews, there's also being released, these ones are being released also in a grayscale. All the more reasoning why in final looks here I decided to flip the box around so you guys can get a glanced look at what those grayscale figures look like. These would be definitely opening the doorway of possibilities and probably will end up resulting in me sourcing these out and wanting to pick up the grayscales for myself. That's sort of one of the things that adopts what you end up adopting when you pick up things like the Artist Alley. You then feel the need to want to complete the line. Thank goodness, though, at least for Chrissie Zullo's lineup of 4, there's only what I believe to be only one other variant for it. Unlike some of the ones that we had looked at before, like the Show Marasis, for example, that had variants and exclusives to certain locations. As far as I know, Chrissie Zullo's lineup is only going to be getting the full color treatment, which we've looked at, and the full black and white treatment, which we haven't looked at. Stay tuned. I may see if I can try to pick those ones up as well. In the meantime, though, I want to send out a big thank you to the folks over at DC Collectibles who were very nice enough to send these my way. What do you guys think, by the way, now that we've kind of wrapped it up and closing shop for the night? What do you guys think of the DC Artist Alley lineup from Chrissie Zullo's? Which one is your favorite? Which one is your least favorite? Always like reading your comments down below. By the way, a little FYI about Batgirl, because obviously in final looks, it's my final opinions of the statue. This one still sort of ranks around, I'm going to say, second of the 4. Wonder Woman still gets the gold. I'm going to give the silver to Batgirl, and the bronze, I think, I'm going to give to Supergirl. You know, I did make an assumption before, and I guess the assumption came true. Hawkgirl, just because I'm not as crazy for the character, she doesn't get a medal, but she kind of gets a good job. Thanks for coming out. Let me know down below, guys, which is your favorite figure. Batgirl's really neat because she does have the inclusion of the scooter. That doesn't necessarily mean that that was the reasoning why she got the silver. She's got a really neat looking sculpt, and I like the fact also that they gave her freckles. Probably a little too many freckles around her mouth area, but overall, again, really happy with this statue release, and overall quite happy with the releases of DC Artist Alley, Chrissie Zullo from the folks over at DC Collectibles. If you guys are new here and you haven't had a chance yet, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. Make this your goal for 2019. We're about halfway through the year, and it's not too late to make those New Year's resolutions, or why not make those New Year's resolutions before, like, in advance. I mean, you want to think half full for your glass. Don't think that you're late into a New Year's resolution. Just think that you're starting earlier than the actual time that's required for you to come up with New Year's resolutions. So if your New Year's resolution is to follow this channel more religiously, thank you for, by the way, for doing that. Probably the best way to do that is make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on to maximum strength. So that when new videos are coming onto this channel, you'll never miss out. We're going to have a look at some upcoming DC collectible reviews in upcoming videos. A lot of upcoming stuff. So stay tuned for that, guys. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.